past 5:30. I will call this meeting to order. Karen, could you do a roll call, please?
Sure.
Blake Roberts,
Here.
Judy Huntash,
Here.
Sam Husnick,
Here.
Mara Bain,
Present.
Mark Finneman,
Here.
Jennifer Lorge,
Here.
Joshua Archer.
And I'll ask all those that are able, please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And members of the EDA, you have a proposed agenda before you. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
Second. Oh, good.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? And we have an agenda. First item this evening, approval of our May 28th meeting minutes. I will entertain a motion for approval or any changes.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from May 28th.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
Abstain.
Abstain. First agenda item this evening, downtown infrastructure planning study. Dan, and I believe also Tim Olson is here as well. Dan, you want to kick us off?
Yep, correct. President, members of the EDA, if you recall, I believe it was in one of the May EDA meetings, we kind of had the conversation about looking at a scoping study to take a look at the infrastructure, condition of the infrastructure in downtown Forest Lake, specifically the sewer infrastructure, to make sure, to catch a gauge what the capacity of that infrastructure is, to make sure that as the downtown kind of undergoes redevelopment pressures, that we're not having to, we're better prepared to know what that capacity is in the sewer system. So Ryan went back to his team and started to do the actual scoping of what that infrastructure study would look like. And Tim is here from Bolton and Mink to kind of go through what the steps are in the study. And then once he's completed, I'll kind of go through what we're looking at from the phasing, because this project would be grant eligible through the CDA. And since we're looking at collection and analysis in two separate years, we're looking at splitting out into two applications. So I can kind of go through the details of that after Tim kind of walks through just the kind of the nuts and bolts of what the actual study will do.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the EDA. My name is Tim Olson. I work with Bolton and Menk, and my colleague, Jordan Thole, is here as well. He helped me put the scope together for this work. In light of future redevelopment in the downtown corridor, the result is likely, that one's for next time, for the council meeting. That's okay. The changes in land use will result in changes in sanitary sewer discharge. And so in light of that, we have to analyze the existing system's capacity to handle that discharge, and then also look at varying land uses for future development that could potentially impact that capacity. So the infrastructure is aging in the downtown corridor. There are a lot of other neighborhoods that tie into that downtown corridor, namely along 3rd Street and in the 61 corridor. And then there's some other residential development that comes in too. And so what we do when we design sanitary sewer from the beginning, or from brand new, is look at a design sewer flow rate. And that design sewer flow rate tends to be pretty conservative. So typically what we assume is that each resident is going to provide about 100 gallons a day in sanitary sewer discharge. And when we go out and actually measure the current condition, so basically what's happening right now, that flow tends to be a lot less, sometimes as much as 50% less. And so if we assume that these design flow rates are happening now, we could target some areas that do not have any more capacity in the sanitary sewer. when in reality they actually do have capacity, if that makes sense. I'm happy to answer questions too after I go through this. So in light of that, we deploy sanitary sewer gauges, flow measuring gauges in the system to capture what that discharge looks like. And there are 2 seasons for sanitary sewer flow. One's a wet weather condition, which is usually after after the ice thaws and the snow melts. We have this wet weather condition. We could have inflow or infiltration into the system through the groundwater, through the surface during that wet weather period. The other is dry weather, which happens when the conditions are frozen. And if we capture that dry weather, we really know what the base flow is in the system. That's without any other inflow of clear water. And then in the spring or in the fall, we can analyze how much clear water contribution there is in the system. Given this is an aging system, it'll be really important to know what that inflow and infiltration impact is on the pipe's capacity. So the first phase will be to deploy these flow meters in the fall and then into the winter, so we capture the wet and the dry weather flow. And then next year we'll run some calculations on the current system's capacity and then analyze those future land use conditions to understand that impact. And so we'd wrap up the study then in spring of next year. That's it in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions about this particular scope?
Any questions?
Was the idea that at the end of your judging existing capability and flows, that you'll be able to test some storylines of different kinds of development that might come? There might be a hotel, there might be a manufacturing plant, whatever it is. You'd be able to set up a storyline that says, if this were in play, we could handle it. And do you set up a variety of storylines, or you just kind of pick one general storyline?
No, it could be a variety. Yep, it could be a variety. And the benefit of having having a hydraulic model of the sanitary sewer system is that we can make those changes in service flow very quickly and very easily. So you're right, a hotel is going to have a different flow rate than a mixed use, or different than commercial, or residential. And so we can modify those land uses and that contributing flow very easily in a model.
So part of your design might be actually just to try and soothsay what was going to happen downtown, what seems logical, and then pin a storyline to it and try and quantify that storyline, and then 2 or 3 of those kinds of options.
Absolutely, yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
The report that you produce, that end product, tell me what that looks like. Tell me intended audience. I believe we're looking for something that is going to be able to use by future developers, but kind of help us with the next steps of why this is important and who the audience is of that report.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's really 2 benefits here. One is the city initially, so understanding what the current system capacity looks like. We can identify those pipes that need to be upsized, maybe need to be repaired, where we're seeing excessive inflow and infiltration during the wet period, which typically means that the pipe is in a state of disrepair, or we have manholes that are leaking, or a number of other things. We can really isolate where those problem areas are. So that's first and foremost. That can help inform the capital improvement plan moving forward as roadway projects happen in the neighborhoods. The second then is for sure to inform that future development. So if we know that a developer's coming in and they need to upsize from an 8-inch line to a 10-inch line, we can identify where that needs to be. Based on that land use. And these things are really evolving too. So we could establish a land use scenario here. Maybe there's 4 different land use scenarios that we identify in the plan. But having this easily modified hydraulic model makes it very, very easy for us to say, well, this phase, didn't happen the way that we thought, or this is now going, from commercial to multifamily residential, and we can change that very easily and update things as we go. So, this is meant to be an evolving process, but really to inform, very near-term capital improvements.
You can make a design guess based on your present-day knowledge. And I'm just presuming there's probably some real antiques down there underground. And so there's some that's totally unknown in terms of what it will have to do.
Yeah.
And so, okay, do you already have a sense of where those various generations of things are?
Yeah, we do. We have design plans and as constructed plans for a lot of this area, and we'll utilize those to really look at age and material of pipe. We have the GIS system too that the city has worked very hard to keep up to date. So we know geographically where everything is located. And we can really look at housing stock too as another great way to go. Housing stock, when were the most recent street improvement projects, when were these utilities replaced or left alone, and what was the condition when they encountered them during those road projects. So there's a wealth of information out there already that we can use to help inform these models too.
So we're about a year out to get final kind of reports, and in the interim, it's not out of the question to at least start examining general costs for a development that wants to start thinking about itself now.
Yeah.
And knowing full well that it's still going to be a ways out there because it takes that long to make something happen. But unless it's a single site being redone, but if it's more than that, more of a redevelopment, then I think it times out okay. We'll have your information at about the time, but there would like to be some preliminary information. People are looking at this point, and they'd like to be able to examine some things. I don't want to get approval for who studies something, but to get feedback at this date based on the general assumptions that you have.
Yeah, understood. And I think the real critical part to this whole proposal is task 1, to deploy these sanitary flow measurement gauges to really capture what the dry weather and wet weather flows look like through that downtown corridor. Without that information, we are making a lot of guesses. So deploying 7 or 8 flow meters throughout the system helps us really pinpoint what those flows look like. And also the timing too. Residential flow happens at a different time of day than commercial flow, and so that measuring that flow will help inform the model that way too.
Okay,
Yep,
thanks.
So all the gauges are deployed at the same time, is that what I'm
That's
seeing?
correct.
So there's 8 locations of this, that's what I'm seeing there.
that's correct. Yep. And the other part too, is we wanted to wait until school's in session. There is a series of schools in this, it's called a sewer shed, not a watershed, but a sewer shed. And waiting for them to be in session, I think, is going to be really important. That's a pretty major inflow component to the south end of the project area. And so that's part of the reason why we're not deploying them right now in the summer and leaving them out there for 2-3 months, is because we probably won't capture that school piece. So really, ideally, it's a warm weather and a cold weather condition is what we're trying to go for. Yeah.
It's just, this is another example, I think, where we're kind of behind on things here, because this would have been really useful information when the conversation was going on about the comprehensive plan. Would have been a lot easier to, for the downtown area to make those decisions based on what you're finding out,
I think this is a great first step. These
Definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think too, having the foresight to say this planning study is really going to help us inform projects for the next 10 to 15 years. It's hindsight's 20/20. You don't really quite see their value until they're in place, but yeah, this is good. And I think that just with the fast approaching changes in land use in downtown, now is definitely the time to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your footprint, the footprint on the map that's on the screen right now is much larger than our identified downtown core. You mentioned sewer shed. Talk to me about sewer shed and why that large footprint is important for this project.
Yeah, the scales of the sewer shed will change substantially. So we look at, there's residential areas. I think, in fact, I can look at the map now. So does everybody have that map in front of them?
Yeah.
Like the yellow area is all residential. The purple area in the southeast is all residential. And so we have one gauge in each one of those sewer sheds to essentially look at what's called the diurnal curve. So when do the peaks happen in the morning? When do they tail off? And then when does the peak happen in the evening? And we can use those curves to apply to really almost any residential area in town of similar age, okay? So that whole purple area will be one single sewer shed that will model to where that cross is located. Similar with the yellow. We can also use lift station run times to help calibrate that model. Okay, so the yellow area, so even though it shows a huge footprint, we're really only going to show detail in the lighter pink in terms of our model, and then just trying to expand on detail in these other areas. So it looks like it's huge, but we won't model all of this. We're really looking at that main line capacity on 3rd and 61.
It's helpful. Other questions? Dan, process for next steps, and maybe let's talk next steps as well as funding. You mentioned a 2-phase approach.
Correct. This whole project, if I recall, I think it's in the 30,000. I have to get the exact total up here. Just one second.
31.5.
31.5. Looking at it, it's a split over 2 years, so we'd have, the 19 project is more like the data collection phase, and then 20 becomes the analysis phase. I've talked to Chris, and he says, okay, if we split it out and to do a 10,005 for the data collection phase in 19, and then we'll just reapply for for a grant in 2020 to do the data analysis. So we're just basically, we're taking a portion of what we're eligible in 19, attributing to the data collection, and we're just gonna basically hold another application in 20 for this. So we will be able to do grant funds in both years. At this point, it's just gonna be 10.5 will be applied for or a portion of 10.5 in 19, and then the remainder in 20. So we should be able to get the grants in both years, but just so everybody's aware that going into 19, going into next year, we already have a grant project that's already on deck, basically ready to go first part of 20.
Let me ask Chris, what is the demand on the grant projects from various cities right now? I'm just always hoping that there's more opportunity for Forest Lake to work with you guys on this. It's a great partnership.
That's a great question, President Bain. Commissioner Fenneman, we do have right now about $150,000 available for this year. And then next year, we are proposing to ask the county to levy $150,000. That would take us into 2020 as well. So right now, we have a couple of projects in the pipeline. I'm expecting a big one from Woodbury to come through and another big one from Oak Park Heights. But I think there should be plenty of money for next year.
And you're pretty assured of the funding again for next year?
Knock on wood, but assuming that the CDA board and the county board approve our budget requests this year, we hope to have another $150,000 available for fiscal year 2020.
It sounds like the cities are showing you a great deal of interest in participating. So.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
Action tonight, requested action tonight, informational only, and you're coming back with a grant, the grant to be approved?
Correct. I will package this all up. Consider we're looking at a fall deployment. We have plenty of time between now and then. So I'll get it all packaged up, get the resolution drafted, and all of the math done on the application, and bring that back at a future meeting. Probably the next one in July, just so we can get that, so we can get Bolton and Mink started on the project.
Very good.
A quick question, I don't really know who this would be for, but let's say something, for example, the Hool property were the phone would ring tomorrow and something were to happen there. Is there some capacity to do it still right now currently? I mean, do we know that or not, that you could do a large-scale development, just one or two right now?
It's kind of a tricky question because without that flow data, we would be making some assumptions based on just a design level. So if we looked at the current land use and we said this much is coming to a pipe and we know about how much capacity it should have under a gravity flow scenario, we can predict how much capacity is in that line. But we're missing the inflow and infiltration piece, and we may over-predict too on those design flows. And so that kind of is the challenge with these types of models, is how much information do we have? And the accuracy is, of course, directly related to how much information we can put into it. So quick and dirty, yeah, we can say approximately this much flow is in this pipe. We think it's at capacity or needs to be upsized. But until we actually measure it, it becomes pretty challenging to do. Yeah. It's almost too big picture for an individual lot, scenario. Yeah.
Any other questions this evening? Dan, do you have what you need for next steps? Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dan, next agenda item is also yours, the Invest in Forest Lake website review.
Yep, President, members of the EDA, if you recall back in May, I presented kind of a proof of concept for the new Invest in Forest Lake website. That point, it was more of a skeleton, kind of here's a potential what the new website could look like. Took that back and started working on actually the production of the website. Before I actually demo this first site, I want everybody to know the site is actually live today. I went live at noon today, so we do have investinforestlake.com. If people were to go there, they would be able to see a live functioning site. I also want to give a very big thank you to Paul from LATV. All of the videos that are on the site were produced by him, and he did in a very accelerated time frame because I did not have much time from start to finish on this project. So a very big thank you to him for all of the video production work that was done on the website. Again, to kind of just refresh everybody's memories of the intent of this site, this is kind of the new EDA's microsite is what I'm calling it. This is the one site where residents, businesses, people looking to make investments in Forest Lake can kind of go to get some of that quick hit information on the city. It's designed so the planning studies that we're doing can be warehoused here. The site-specific information will be warehoused here. It's also going to be a living document, so what you see today, there will be opportunities to kind of refine this as market conditions change, as new properties become available. This will kind of be evolving along with the economic development within the city of Forest Lake. So without further ado, here is the new Invest in Forest Lake homepage. As soon as I said it was all live, it's not loaded, but now it's loading. So if you recall from the last one, I said the first front video would have a video on it. This is a video that Paul produced for us. It's about a 30-second video. I'll just kind of let it loop.
Well,
So when
doesn't that look
visitors
fun?
land on this site, this is what they're going to see. There's, it's just kind of that, just trying to highlight some of the reasons why you want to come into Forest Lake here. So he just did a great job of kind of selecting some construction aspects as well as some nice shots of downtown. And this will play on an internal loop. The one thing I do want to mention is that if you access this site on an iPhone, you're not going to have a video there's no video option. It's just a static image, which is why when you actually go back when this video loops back to start, we do have a kind of a compelling image to start the video out. So they're seeing an image that's actually something you want to see. So this is the beginning of the video right there, just that kind of flying shot through the welcome banners. So you have the homepage video that's landed that'll always be playing on the homepage. If you scroll down, you kind of have the Forest Lake by the numbers, went to the Met Council's website and kind of pulled out some of their most recent data. These data points were pulled directly from the Met Council, and I have a link back to there, so if somebody wants to go back and see, where the information came from, they can go back to the Metropolitan Council's website. Have some welcome text here. Again, the text that's on the website right now, the copy's still in draft form. It's pretty close to being done, but it still needs a quick edit, and we'll get it all kind of cleaned up a little bit for hard final launch. But this is the welcome message, another image of downtown. Current opportunities, and I'll come back to this in a moment. You have a construction image. This is actually an overview of Lighthouse Lofts when they were being constructed. So we actually have it's a Forest Lake specific construction image that's there. Keep going down. I changed this one from, I believe it was incentive programs to business resources, try to bring it up to another kind of 20,000 foot. So it's resources for businesses looking to locate here as well as for existing businesses in Forest Lake. These all link back to pages that I'll show you here in just a moment. It's just a quick way to get to those pages. Again, our partnership pages, kind of going from state all the way down to local. So kind of showing that we're not, we do have partners at different levels of government here. Contact information, and then there's the chat feature. Right now it is live. It is able to receive chat functions on it. I'm going to be changing this over where there'll be chat hours that are available. So during certain hours of the day, say from 8 to 4:30, it'll be marked as live chats available, and then after hours it'll go to an autoresponder. So if somebody at 10 o'clock at night wants to do a chat, I'll go in there, I'll say, we'll respond to you in the morning, because I'm probably not going to respond at 10 o'clock at night for a chat message. But at least it shows, this will show up on every page, and it'll kind of give people easy access as they're going through. They can say, I have a question about this. They can just send a quick message in, and we'll respond quickly to that one. Going to the next thing, so I kind of had this designed out where you kind of go to the home page, and then you kind of go to Why Forest Lake. Kind of started this out a lot, kind of highlighting some of the recreational activities that we have in Forest Lake, but also wanted to focus on the housing and workforce as well. There's a video here that I won't play it during this, but it's about 2 minutes long. Again, LATV produced this video, highlight of Arts in the Park, kind of showing the dynamic components of Forest Lake, again, trying to build some excitement for the city. You click down here on the workforce page. These pages will change, so I want everybody to know I have talked to the web company that Chris is using for the Washington County's CDA site. They're going to have the most current Esri city level data on workforce and housing incorporated into their site. I did secure permission that I can link back up to their site. So instead of doing the same infographics on 2 different pages, I'm just going to link directly back to CDA site. So that way the information is going to be consistent on both sites. We're not going to have, numbers of households be different. So there will be a link down there, but this is again highlighting the workforce that's here. Same thing on the housing. The housing page, again, will have that kind of deeper dive housing level data on it, but right now I'm going to hold that off until I get that link back up to the Washington County's CDA website. Amenities, I focused here on kind of, again, more of the recreational amenities as well as some business-specific ones. Kind of let it out with parks and trails. Highlighted the airport as well. Went out there and I got lucky. When I was out there taking photographs, there was a plane fueling up, and I asked him, I said, "Can I take a picture of your plane?" And he said, "Absolutely. I don't want to be in the picture though." So I did tell him that it would be on the website here. So we do have the airport featured here as well. Forest Lake YMCA, kind of highlighting the partnership between the city and the YMCA. And then this link back actually goes back to the city page, so they can kind of show that the city's got that partnership. It goes in a little bit more level of detail in terms of what the amenities are available to residents of the city of Forest Lake. And then there's a link on the city's page to the YMCA's page, so they can easily get there, but we're just kind of highlighting that partnership between the two. And then also highlighted the area's natural resources, first and foremost focused on the lakes, also talked about the trails. And then I also kind of brought it out a little bit to the bigger level and highlighted the St. Croix River as well on here, because that's something that if somebody's coming in, they may want to access the river, and I kind of said we're minutes away from there, so I tried to pull in that little bit bigger regional asset there as well. I've had conversations with some of the cities between here and the river, and they're looking at kind of doing a little bit of a recreational focus over there, and I said if you have some short links you want me to put on here, I can kind of build those in here, because again, it's just going to help us promote this area's recreational activities. So had some of those initial conversations with some of those municipalities, so when their sites are up and ready to launch, I'll get those included here as well. Going back to the current opportunities page, this is a part of the home page, so this will actually, you can just scroll down here, but this link will take you back to the home page here. Have the 3 property, or the 2 main property talked about, the headwaters, 123 acres, airport business park. And there was also some conversation of can you do other commercial listings within Forest Lake. I was able to figure out a way to do a permanent link back to the MinCar site. So if you click on this land for sale link, you are taken to the MinCar site. And this is as close as I could get it to Forest Lake. So it'll actually show the active listings in an area. I mean, it's a little bit bigger than Forest Lake, but this is about as close as I could drill it down to. These are changing, so when I first made these links, these properties were different than they are now. So as the MinCar site evolves, these sites will change with it. So we do have that opportunity now to kind of bring in some of those other commercial listings within the area. So we're not just focused on city property here. Going back, anything that, just on the kind of a housekeeping thing, anything that's an outside link will open on a new page. So the user can always go back to the city page or the Invest in Forest Lake page, so they can go to the MinCar page. It'll be on its own tab or its own window, so we're not, when you go back, you have to go back to the existing page here. The headwaters 123, I did build this out. You see here on the site briefing a little bit more information than what's on the header page. Start to kind of get a little bit more into the nuts and bolts of it. You have this background image here is actually ground level of the site. I was out there and took a ground level image. You have a couple of overview images, and then you have a still shot of a flyover that we took that I'll show you in just a moment here. The site documents, we do have a flyover video that it's included in the site. The marketing sheets, and then once the phase 1 and wetland delineation come back, we'll link back those 2 documents on this page as well. So this is the flyover video that Paul shot for us. Let's make this full screen here. I kind of gave instructions. I just kind of said, get a good image of this kind of the whole site in general here, and then kind of show it relative to the city of Forest Lake. He happened to pick probably the best weather day to shoot this, and you'll see it in just a second here too. In terms of an overview shot, it has some fairly compelling action to it, which you'll see in just a moment here. He was actually out here on the day they were actually planting the fields, so they have a little bit of the farm action happening there. But it does capture a nice, kind of gives you the geographical where it is relative to some of the housing there in Headwaters, the school, the YMCA, the apartment buildings, and you'll see the government center here in just a second. You got the airport there as well, and the City of Forest Lake water towers. So kind of the intent of this video here is if somebody's sitting in their office in New York or California, they want to kind of see what does the site look like, they can come here and kind of get a good virtual idea of what the site looks like. In addition to kind of the maps that we'll be able to provide, this is a little bit more of a, it can keep you in the running if they're looking for a specific site to site a project on. The airport business park, this is a little bit still more skeleton. I don't have the flyover video of this one yet. I did ask Paul if he could go out and do the same thing for the airport business park as well. I will try to get a still shot that I can replace this parking lot image back with. These sites were a little bit more challenged to take photographs of because the topography did not lend itself from ground level photography, so I'm gonna try to get some of the aerial shots here. And then I'll get some additional site documents loaded up here as well. But just again, trying to show the airport business park. And then I created a business resources page. This is kind of the page where I wanted to kind of accumulate all of the different resources that we have available. I went to the state level. Chris provided me a lot of the resources at the state level, kind of the recommended state level resources. I put them into a database that's in here. So as we update that database, it'll automatically update on the website. And then I also kind of drilled it down to city and county resources. So on the state level, what I did here is I did icons for every single different type of grant program that's available. I classified them on what type of program they are. These actual icons then become the links that'll go back to the different information at the state level for these. So if you're looking for more information on a cleanup grant, you click on the icon, it'll take you there. I believe there's a total of 8 of them here. So there's also the detailed information, so somebody come in and say, okay, I'm looking for a small business loan. Here's a little bit of information on it. Click there for more information. And again, this will be easily updatable because it's all in the database. All that information's in one spot. I don't have to chase it around the site. It's all in one location. And then I kind of also brought it down to the city-county resources. I put these on one page because there's a lot of partnership between the city and county for the resources. I kept kind of the same blue formatting that I did for all the other kind of sub-pages here that I did on the land for sale, the state level resources, and I brought that blue over to the city resources here. I will put the downtown incentive program application documents here when they're updated. Put a little information. I copied this TIF districts one off of a document that Chris had provided that was done from Hugo. This may or may not exist on there. I just wanted to put a second program in there for a placeholder. County resources, I have the Open to Business program and the tax abatement. Again, those came from the document that was provided by Chris. And I kind of stole that from your website, Chris, so
No worries.
I'll ask for forgiveness on the use of that picture there, but we can switch that picture. I needed a placeholder image there on the business resources page. And again, these, when you go back to the home page, if you're looking for city resources, downtown incentive, they'll link back to this page specifically here. That's basically kind of the quick tour of the website. Intentionally kind of kept text to a minimum on this one, just kind of following, that's how most web design standards are going right now. They're going more on an image driven. Try to keep this contact thing there, so as if people are looking for more information, trying to get that one-on-one connection happening back with city staff so they can try to get them, on the hook and having conversations with them. Also have a full Google Analytics suite baked into the site right now, so I can start tracking where the links are coming from, what they're looking at. If there's problems with page loading, like if they're loading slow, I'll know about that. That level data, so if we start seeing a lot of information on, say the downtown incentive link, we can start crafting. That data is useful for a number of things in terms of crafting policy. We can start to have some of those baked in, sort of those resources to say, what are people looking for and for us, that you can say, well, we've had 4 times as many hits on the airport park versus the Headwaters parks. Maybe we're looking for smaller parcels, or we're seeing a lot more in the Headwaters versus the downtown or the airport business park. I also have the ability with what we have in this site, I can compare it to what comes in on the county level site. I talked to Chris, I'll have access to their analytic data as well, so I can take a look at what's coming in at the county level site and then what's coming in at the city level site. So we have that data sharing that's going on right now. That'll be extremely beneficial to say on the county level, if we're seeing what sites are, on the national level, where are they getting drawn to? And then we can start to look at, maybe we need to start looking at a 20-acre site or a 10-acre site. So we just start making decisions based on data, not kind of just making market guesses at this point. So we start to have some of that data collection in here as well. So at this point, the website's probably, I'd say, 85% complete. There's still a couple of link checks that need to go through. There's some beta testing I have to do just to make sure that all the formatting's still there. I'll have to go through and do all the copy editing just to make sure there's no grammatical mistakes on there, all the document links work. And then just do some back end cleanup. But this is actually live right now. I'm going to keep the site live. So what I do from here on out will be done on a live site. I think it's at the point now where if somebody were to go here, it's built enough where there's still enough good information on there. It'll continue to build out. And I think the plan moving forward with this will be as policies change, programs change, we have a good spot to kind of put all of this information here and warehouse it. So this will evolve. I know, not to get ahead of myself, with the Workforce Summit, there's a conversation of LITV will be there and do like a little 5-minute video as to what that Workforce Summit is. We'll put that video here so somebody can come in and say, what do those partnerships look like that you have with the school for workforce development? And they'll be able to catch that 5-minute video and learn more about that partnership opportunity. So I think it'll be a great opportunity for residents, for businesses, and for site selectors to kind of come here, and it kind of it gives us a leg up in terms of like the digital platform, because this is the platform when you talk to site selectors, this is the first place they will go. And I think now we've crafted a website that I think puts us very competitive, makes us very competitive in that digital marketplace. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if you have any ideas or comments on the website, happy to take any feedback at this point.
So we can put this on the chamber website right now?
Yep, it's ready to go. I do have I will start doing like a marketing plan for it. I'm probably gonna wait till after the 4th of July. I think if right now it starts going out, it's gonna kind of hit maybe a little bit of it's a tough time to do a lot of hard marketing at this point. We're also I'll back it off of when the CDA website goes. I know there's gonna be kind of an event for the Technology Corridor website as well. We're ready to go for those press events, but they'll do like the bigger kind of the full court press after the 4th of July. That's when everything else is kind of teeing up. So we'll make sure that we market at the same time the county markets and the same time that the Technology Corridor markets. But right now this site is live, it's ready to go. The link can be shared, it can be dispersed as needed.
Well, it's great. I love it. It's beautiful. And it seems very user-friendly. I could manage to navigate through it, so it's user-friendly.
Questions, feedback for Dan?
Do we need to beat our chest and toot our horn a little bit about our police department and our fire department and all that kind of stuff too? Are we getting enough of that onto this? Would that be something we could?
I could put it in there. I mean, I would say probably under the Y-Force, I can definitely add links back or, redraft that text. I get a little bit hesitant to just keep putting tons of more, because then it becomes, the page links the site can grow exponentially, but I can definitely throw a sentence.
Well, I'd just like to know what everybody else thinks about that too. I mean, it's just my thing.
Well, we fought to maintain a police department, and we had all sorts of rationale for it. And,
There you go.
I would imagine that could be a strong sense of why a city of our size is better because of it.
Oh, we have a modern fire department too, you know what I mean?
I didn't mean to exclude them. No, I applaud what you've done.
If we can squeeze something in there, that's just me. I don't know how everybody else feels about that, but otherwise, I think what you've done here, Dan, is fabulous. I know a lot of hard work went into it, and it's better than anything we've ever had here, that's for sure.
I think it speaks to like a picture, what is it, picture's worth 1,000 words, and so great graphics, images, it just tells the story visually.
Because this is a pretty big package, when you go to the official Forest Lake website, is it one of those big icons like the rest of them are?
The plan, I would say at this point, I actually haven't figured out what I'm gonna do on the city's website to this, because there is a EDA one pager. I probably will just do a direct link to this page. So I will, you go to the city's website, you'll see City of Forest Lake EDA, and it'll bring you here. Probably do like the board, leave the boards and commissions, where it kind of shows you on the EDA where it is, but for like where we kind of are starting to pseudo warehouse some of this stuff, it'll all get pushed over to here.
Just out of curiosity, the Lakes TV, they did, it's amazing, the images are amazing. Is there a charge for that, or they do that for the community, or just probably specifically for city, and because there's some funding there, I'm assuming, so that's part of it?
The city actually, we actually provide the funding for them through the Joint Powers Association. We give our franchise fees to them. So it's always been the essence to try to get them to help us with video production. And we have a good partnership right now with the current access coordinator over there, and he does phenomenal drone footage shots. So he's more than willing to get this footage for me. And in fact, today I had a couple conversations with him. I said a couple more asks. I said, whenever you get a chance, you know, the airport business park is one, and I asked them for solar panels as well, so they can start to highlight some of the solar panels. I think the school has them on top of their roof. So I said, if you're out flying by the school and you happen to see them, like, just give me a couple of still shots, because I've actually used the videos. I can take still images out of these, and they, like you said, the picture of an aerial shot of the land is tells 1,000. It's worth 1,000 words on the page. So it's. I asked him if once he gets those shots, I'll take the image exports out of there, but he does do it just as part of our current agreement that we have with Lakes Area TV.
I have just a very minor nit. Up in the current opportunities, I love that you found a way to link in the other commercial listings. If that can be included in the drop-down box, otherwise it kind of gets hidden on the page.
That's a
And
good idea.
I think just if the overall goal is to market the city, yes, obviously we're interested in the city-owned properties, but there's a lot of great retail, great commercial listings on that list. And if that is working, let's highlight that in as many places as possible. I think that interest, I think generally coming in, people are interested in the site. They don't necessarily care ownership structure at this initial point, whether that's municipal owned or privately held. And then the other, I think it'd be great to post live, get it in front of a couple of commercial investors, and just get feedback on other amenities. What else would they like to see on it? Tweak it, but I'll post go live. My guess is some of them may have some resources that might be helpful to include as well, and kind of get feedback on their marketing Forest Lake as well.
We actually have a couple that we're working with on the scoping for the Headwaters project that we can get up in front of them and say, hey, what do you think of this? And
Yeah, perfect.
make any suggestions they have.
Are you able to demo this during the discussion portion of the council meeting tonight? I think it's great to get in front of them. And if you're open, we could add that as a quick agenda item, just as a discussion-only item. Great job. This is
I like it.
valuable piece of marketing material that and you did this between yourself and Paul.
Just the two of us. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Amazing.
Great work. Other questions or feedback to Dan? Timing on release, we mentioned the county site. I did get a major media inquiry today. They have an interview set up tomorrow to talk. I suspect that happened because they follow our agenda and saw it on the agenda for this evening. But there will be some inquiries fast and furious, so let's talk about timing and making sure we're kind of going out
President
together.
Bain, I could probably take that one if you'd like. So there's two things happening at the county level. The first one is the county CDA website, which is, as Dan mentioned, a standalone economic development website that'll be very similar to the structure of this website, but focusing specifically on economic development for Washington County. That one will be soft launched in July and probably do some kind of a public official launch in early August. The other one that I just want to highlight briefly that went live today, and please keep in mind it's still in the development stages and we're looking for some feedback as well, and maybe Dan, if you could even point to it real quickly. We've talked at this EDA level before about the Minnesota Technology Corridor. That went live today, and so right at about 2 o'clock this afternoon, mntechcorridor.com. And so if you do have any feedback on that one, please let me know. And there's room to change it. There might be some links and stuff, as Dan mentioned earlier, that still need to be fine-tuned. But this is to highlight the I-35 corridor for technology-type businesses. And of course, we did look at the Headwater site as a feature site on this website. But this is it's officially live today. We do know that there are some changes that need to be done, including the video that seems to be a little bit grainy when we put it on here, but it was very clear when the drone flew it originally. But just to kind of scan through this a little bit, and you can see the different sites. We've chose 5 sites, one for each community, and we do have the Headwater site listed for Forest Lake. And they can click there, and maybe that's something we should talk about linking better with the city's EDA website. But officially that one live today, but still looking for feedback, and there is room for improvement, so please let me know. And I did talk to that reporter today, so hopefully she'll do a story coming up in the not too distant future about this. And we're looking to do an official public launch later in July, probably mid to late July, and we'll invite the EDA to join us. It'll probably be at Running Aces.
And you're the contact for both the CDA and also the tech corridor for any
Yeah,
media
but really
follow-up?
kind of as a gatekeeper. I really want to drive that traffic to Dan and or to the city of Hugo if they're looking at the site in Hugo.
Terrific. It's great to see some interest generated even pre-launch, so it's good.
Is the city-owned land 117 or 123?
It's 123. At first, when we first released all the information, it was, I had inadvertently thought it was 117. I forgot there was that 5 acre. You'll see it here as that little kind of sub-highlighted area. There's another 5 acres that adds it. So it's 123, or excuse me, 6 acres. So it's 123 total. We'll go through and get this updated. This was based on information that was provided back in March or April.
Needs to be
So
updated.
we'll get it updated, in the next day or so on. So it's consistent.
Other questions of Dan at this point?
And you could take the if it is Kraus Anderson yet land that's just east of the library, that property there could be part of this story as well.
On the tech corridor,
Well, sure, tech corridor, I suppose, but mostly just for the property available opportunities.
so kind of the intent on this, like with the tech corridor, is that they wanted in kind of every city to put the premier sites on, and then we'd have like second tier sites. If somebody comes in and says, I don't want 117, do you have a 30 or do you have a 20, do you have a 10? We have those sites lined up, and at this point we're starting to assemble that list of additional sites. One of the reasons why the 123 went on is the fact that it's under city control. It's easier, they come in and negotiate with just one person, but we do, kind of have those other sites too. If somebody comes in and says, I need something more specific.
I didn't mean to plant it here on this one, but on a city one. Properties like that you will have listed as well.
The challenge with that is they're good about getting it listed right off the bat, but if they sell, they don't always take them off or give you the second, or the price changes. That's why we went to the MinCar listings, that's a spot where they can, it's that site it always maintains current because the realtors update that site, or the MinCar updates their listings. We've tried doing that listings before on a website, and what happens is that, like I said, we'll get them all on the onset. People are really raring to go when their site first goes on there, but if something changes and the information goes out of date, they don't always update every single option where they put that out there. And it's just easier for us to find a direct link to like a MinCar site. So if the Kraus Anderson site is listed on the MinCar site, it absolutely will show up, but that individual site stuff, it does become tough to manage.
I can imagine how tough that is to keep the input coming in and from all the different sources it would come in from. So I guess if our only shot is MinCar, then that's our only shot at this point. But there's certainly a wealth of properties out there that are in transition or available through real estate or other developer property.
When you click into that MinCar link, it does do a nice job of featuring
It really does.
map and then also detail of land use, and then it's kind of like looking at a Zillow or Realtor.com listing for commercial. It does do a nice job of pictures. But I think your point is driving traffic there. So whatever we can do to get traffic there, if that is the source of truth.
President Bain, if I could just add, on that MinCar site, that information is always kept up to date. And if it's not updated by the commercial realtor on a, I think every 30-day basis, MinCar will kick it out automatically. So you won't find sites out there that aren't current anymore. So, and if commercial realtors, that's kind of the go-to database for commercial realtors in the Twin Cities area. That's where they start. And so they look there first, and if they can find the information, great. If not, they'll expand their search, and we can talk about other ways to highlight other sites as well.
Very good. Thanks again. Great progress and great tool to roll out. Okay, moving on to our next item, Workforce Summit update. Chris, I believe you have an update, and
Sure, Dan or Patrick, please feel free to jump in, but I'll just talk high level, and I think there's a copy of the flyer in your packets. And so we've scheduled a date. This is part of our, going back, I think, to last summer, we talked about in the EDA work plan, holding a workforce and business summit to make the connection between our students and local businesses. And so on July 22nd at the Forest Lake High School from 7:30 to 9:30, we're planning the kickoff event for the Career Launch Program that the high school is now promoting. And so at this event, we're going to invite the businesses from the area, including Forest Lake, Hugo, and Wyoming, and Scandia, all of the areas that comprise the Forest Lake School District area, and trying to make the connections. And we do have Team Vantage to come and talk about their partnership. They're already working with the school district and have students that are working in positions at Team Vantage right now. We want to make additional connections with other manufacturing companies and construction-based companies to get started here, and then hopefully expand that as well into the healthcare sector as well. So please, if you're able to join us on this date, put it on your calendar, 7:30 a.m. to 9:30. And we do have a couple of different speakers come in, and we'll be able to take a tour of the high school to show the progress they're making in adapting their curriculum to make sure that the students realize that there are a lot of really great opportunities out there and really good paying jobs. And some students are not looking to a four-year degree, but we want them to know that you can live in your community and really make a decent job, really good wage, high-paying job here in the community without having to go on and get a four-year degree and add on all the student debt if you don't want to, and really to make those connections to put the students in internship positions with their local employers is kind of important. So again, July 22nd from 7:30, and it's free to attend, and just let us know. We can add you on the list.
Who is that open to besides the EDA and?
So primarily, we're marketing it to manufacturing businesses, but we do want the council and the EDA members to know about it. And so we haven't talked with the school about making it really large yet, but they want to kind of start with manufacturing and construction, but eventually get into healthcare and perhaps even retail and service type jobs. But it's kind of an invite only at this point in time, but really to just kind of roll it out and get started. So for sure, EDA council members and manufacturing and construction businesses to get us started.
any questions of Chris?
Do we already have a known quantity of manufacturers or construction or businesses that are working with the apprentice program now?
There aren't many, to be honest with you, and that's one of the things that we want to really emphasize and build that partnership. We do know that in Hugo, for example, Schweder's company is an expanding company, and they do construction and manufacturing there. They're adding 100 jobs right now. They really want to beef up that partnership with the school to make sure that students know if you're interested in the construction trades or manufacturing trades, they can put you in a really, really nice paying job, in some cases up to $40 an hour right out of school. And those are great jobs in our communities. We want kids to know that these are available. And I don't take credit for this at all. This is the school staff. Mike Muron is now the Career Launch Program Manager, who used to be an agricultural teacher and still is a teacher at the high school, but now he's going to specialize in this Career Launch Program and expand his horizon a bit. So, but really, we're trying to make that stronger connection with the manufacturing companies here in the community.
Okay, cool.
Any other questions? I just want to say thank you for you personally for being here, also to your staff, and then also to the Board of Commissioners on the support of all these great economic activities going on in Forest Lake, and we really appreciate the partnership with
Thank you.
Washington
The partnership is really important, so appreciate your
County.
partnership.
Thank you. All right, any topics, any items to be brought up under other? I have a couple of just heads up kind of housekeeping items or calendar items, but go ahead.
Well, I would just like to bring up the beautification
Yes.
pots, and, I had a little bit of a connection there, but I would really like to thank Dan and Blake and Forest Lake Floral for their participation and their support, because it could not have happened without them. And Blake, you were amazing.
Yeah.
And I got to live out my dream of working at Forest Lake Floral, even though it was only for 45 minutes and it was for free. But I think it went extremely well, and it was because of the support that we got from the city and from Forest Lake Floral, Blake in particular. So thank you.
I would second that. I think just the city partnership, Public Works getting those big
Yep.
containers out
Yep.
there, they're a little hesitant and concerned about, but the size and scope of them were that big that they did a nice job getting them out there. So,
I walked downtown today with somebody who was interested in doing some downtown development, and they look great, so thank you. Any other updates?
I can do a chamber update.
Yes, please.
Okay, the Chamber's next big event is our annual golf tournament at Forest Hills on July 29th. I think tee-off is starting at 11. And they still have room. And it's a wonderful event. And we've lucked out several years in a row of fantastic weather. So come.
Well, a note relative to the chamber as well, we're trying to get advertisement out for the Old Timers baseball game. I said that wrong, old-fashioned baseball game, not necessarily all old timers. At any rate, we missed last year because it rained, but we're trying to make sure it happens this year. Kitty parade and all, so I've been trying to hand out to the city and the chamber as much of a brochure, not a brochure, but a flyer that they could distribute or send out any way they can. So that's on the 30th. And so we have the Lions food truck and other things participating.
Terrific. And that's kind of between that and the salute to the troops, that's Saturday, kind of kick off to 4th of July activities here. Certainly a full calendar of events throughout the community, so.
And a question, I don't know yet if it could be answered, but 2nd Street.
It is open.
Open.
I
Is it
walked
open
it
now?
today.
It's open.
It's ready for the parade.
Okay, cool. Don't want to worry about that.
It's awesome.
No.
I drove on it.
Did you
Yes.
drive on it?
I did.
was going to turn quick.
I just had to.
Didn't fall through.
Yes.
Didn't fall through.
Literally
And it
ready
looks
for
great.
it.
It looks
It's
great.
literally ready for a parade, so, yes. Many thanks to city staff for lots of work on getting that completed. Real quick, as we're wrapping up here, council is kicking off our strategic planning session this Wednesday at 6 PM. That is a council session, which is going to kick off the process. That will then roll into 2 community input sessions, and I would like to invite all of the members of the EDA to those sessions. Wednesday, July 10th at 7 PM, and Wednesday, July 17th at 7 PM. They are identical sessions, and so if you would like to be industrious and attend both, you are more than welcome, but it is the same content. It is a facilitated session that is intended to, you can expect a welcome by members of council, and then we are going to get out of the way and let the facilitator work with members of the community in a facilitated session of identifying strengths, weaknesses, opportunities for Forest Lake. All of that information will be collected and will inform what we are doing for strategic planning. Our goal is to have a draft update of that plan as we roll into budget season in August. That sounds like a lot happening in a short amount of time, and it is, but we can't change that budget season. Preliminary levies, as you all know, is due in September, and so we are getting as much work done as we can on getting that updated plan so we have good updated data from which we can be making prioritization and funding decisions for budget season. So those 2 sessions, if you are not able to attend either of those sessions, there is also going to be a link of input, and that will be advertised here, and you can also jump in online and provide some feedback that way as well. So any
Well, I have been prompting some kind of discussion from all the points of view about the central learning facility.
Yes.
And I guess I bounced off of just about everybody now. And so I'm not finding a lot of motivation to try and save anything over there, despite having a certain theory that it made sense. So not having found anyone that seems to be moving in that direction, I will quit bugging everybody about the value of what's there. Unless somebody opens the door and tells me there's a reason to talk yet.
Right.
But I haven't heard that.
So, thank you for pushing that. Personally, I'm challenged to move that forward as long as the school district sounds like they have a pretty concrete plan for that site. And I am hesitant to be misaligned with what the school district's plans are for that. It is their property.
Oh, I fully understand it. That's why I've kind of
So
lost the
it
forward motion on this
seems
one.
that, you know, they have an opportunity and kind of what they've identified, and it's part of their resource planning. And I think whatever's going to happen there has to happen with full school district support.
Oh, yeah. With the
So I think that's a challenge.
oddball answers you get every once in a while. From the school board, from Dr. Massey, it's essentially been, we will talk, as if there is a future talk, but I don't think there's a future talk, so I will just kind of say goodbye to that idea.
My sense is that ball is in their court, right? And so, you know, any other perspectives on that?
I don't know.
Is there a plan? Do they have a plan in place to exit out of the?
They have some requirements in terms of finding green space, having conceded some to hard surface in places. They are talking about an athletic field of some sort. I've always had trouble with how it gets planted there, but that's my own thinking that where else it should be, other things that could have been done. But unless you can wrestle this idea of a building to the ground about, is it worthy of saving, and can you re-inhabit parts of it? Can you throw away parts of it? And can you still do something with the remainder? All of that's a believable storyline, but not to the people who control the story at this point.
When you mentioned that, we had some discussion, and I have been talking to a lot of citizens who are very interested in a center for creative arts. And we were talking about if that were saved, we could have a wing of it for the creative arts, for artist studios, for lapidary, for woodworking, that type of thing. So there is a demand out there for that, so we need to find some kind of space we can look at in the future. And the other feedback I've gotten from the public is, why don't we have a welcome to Forest Lake sign anywhere off the freeway coming into town on 61, and it can't be that much. They say you don't need a big one like White Bear Lake, just put a sign out there that says, welcome to Forest Lake. So,
This is one of the easiest opportunities.
Yeah.
That's been a topic of
Solve that
discussion
puzzle
for a few
elsewhere.
years.
and as long as you're talking about budgeting, I don't know where that goes in, but I'd love to stick it in.
I just made a note.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
As it relates to the school district's current plan, to kind of piggyback on your question on what is that plan, if, to the extent that it is green space, we do have Parks, Lakes, and Trails, and Jamie leading on our side, working with their staff on making sure that we are at least collaborating on that future green space development, because we also have the opportunity for some Fenway Field expansion, and the thought is if we're expanding green space, let's be thoughtful and working together with them on what that is. So that collaboration is taking place, and again, I kind of take the position of it's their property and their, you know, it's their investment.
Are there going to be more discussions about FLA? There was one, and I haven't heard of a follow-up discussion yet about the Fenway athletic fields and how they might grow into their future
So
positions.
I fully expect that that will be part of conversation on strategic planning of, you know, as we talk about park expansion, specific to Fenway. Park expansion, what does that mean? Prioritization. I would suspect that council tees up part of that to then go to Parks, Lakes, and Trails for further refinement. There has not been, you know, active, you know, beyond, there were some initial concept discussions. I don't think the conversation's gone much beyond that at this point.
Okay.
But I know that there's definitely interest, especially as that development at Common Bond and the Len Pratt development, you know, starts to get further into the ground. That starts to prompt questions on what's next. As well as Fenway's, you know, had a lot of they are, a field that is at capacity. And there's certainly a strong storyline around additional green space between us and the school district, so,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah. All right.
I just have one other
Yeah,
thing, not to,
absolutely.
and discussion was last year about this time, just the maintenance of the common area landscaping along Broadway and the roundabout area. It's, you can see that needs to be, and I don't know, and I know it's a budgetary thing, and that Public Works is, at capacity probably, but I don't know if it's more to reach out to Washington County in the Census to Serve program, or maybe the old youth service bureau, the lakes, and see if there's something that, more of a community service type thing that can be done to help offset that cost and still make that space look nice.
I've heard the same thing.
Yeah, we can talk to Dave about that tonight. Certainly, I was a little taken aback, but there was a patch right in front of Benelli's in particular that was pretty grown up. And usually at this point in the season, I feel like things are a little bit better under control. I know that at the end of the season, sometimes things get wild, but it seems like we're seeing that sooner, so thank you for bringing that up. And that's-
We have the same problem with the adjacent business owners to not take care of their space in front.
Yes,
Come on,
yes.
it's not that big a deal, so it's an issue in a lot of places.
Along those lines, council members in general have fielded a lot of questions around code compliance, and that will also be another conversation as we go into budgeting prioritization around resources on code compliance and, level of enforcement, what we're doing. There's a lot of motivation there as well. It's a common theme in council emails, so. Okay. Not hearing any other items for discussion. Thank you all for your input tonight and for a successful meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion a second. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? And we're adjourned.